I'm Daniel Comp with 360 Men, and today we have coffee with Dean Rush in Cinco Ranch, Texas. Come on in. Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is Dean Rush. I've known for 15 years, and he's dropped in for coffee in our Airstream, and we're in Katy, Texas. And I'm going to have Dean tell you about his experience when he was young playing basketball.
Daniel, that's many years ago, but I can still relate to a lot of the actions and inactions that took place over that time. I grew up on a farm, and my father died when I was young. I was in my teenage years, and for some reason he had foresight before his death, and he decided that there was one way. He was anxious for us to go to college. No one in our family had ever gone to gotten a post-high school degree. And so he had people that he would hire to bale hay, which is tough in Indiana in the summertime. But between loads of hay, these guys came in and they would teach us how to play basketball. And that's really the time that in my life I became enthralled with being better and better and trying to discipline myself to be able to do something later on. Well, I was able to get a scholarship, attended DePaul University, played basketball there for 4 years, and at the end of the time, I just wanted to go to the next level. And so I got a call one day from Coach McCall, and he said, I know you're interested. I don't know whether you can make it, but would you like to try out for the St. Louis Hawks? And this is before St. Louis had moved to Atlanta. And I said, sure. And he said, well, you have to be at Washington University tomorrow night. This was on a Friday. And go through their tryout procedure. And I did that on Friday or Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and then they had us go through another drill on Sunday afternoon. And they came in and announced that I had at least made the taxi squad. What that means is you're in the upper third or the bottom fifth of the recruits. And as we began to play, I found out I was a little slower than some of the other folks. I could shoot the ball really well, I could handle the ball really well, and I could take abuse. And one of the reasons that I think they kept me at that time was I wasn't afraid to get hurt. As my wife said, I was thrown into the stands by the best. And at that time, in that era, if you got into a fight, you both got thrown out. So quite often, I would come from the end of the bench, the coach would say, go in and hit Johnson or hit whoever that was the leading scorer on the other team. When he hit me back, we both got tossed. I didn't hurt our team, but it sure hurt their team. So that's one of the reasons. I bet you would have a nose like this. I have no cartilage in my nose because it was hit a few times. Well, I played ball and moved quickly to the Cincinnati Royals for a tryout. I went from the Cincinnati Royals, they traded me to Baltimore, and before I received a full contract at Baltimore, even arrived actually, they put me on waivers. Which told me where I stood in the basketball world. Well then, at that time, Abe Saperstein, who owned the Harlem Globetrotters, was starting the ABA, the American Basketball Association. And they had teams all over the place. San Antonio Spurs, the Dallas Chaparrals, Cleveland Cavaliers. We were the Cleveland Pipers when I went there. And Cleveland Jets then became the Cleveland Pipers in the ABA, and that eventually evolved into the Cleveland Cavaliers. I say all that because I found that in basketball I could relate to other people, and I began to learn team dynamics. I learned team dynamics in a way that was sort of it was uncanny when I began to understand that the people around me were teaching me about life. As we traveled, we had some great experiences. I met my wife on one of the trips when we were going to play the Bulls in an exhibition game. She was a flight attendant, and we were going to be friends, but she seemed to enjoy basketball, so we were able to eventually come to an agreement and get married, and that was about 51 years ago. So I think the agreement has stood the test of time. Well, basketball was something that never ever left my soul. My son played basketball, my daughter played basketball, and I've watched over the years, and those team dynamics that I learned are still going on. I love the teams that actually use the team, not individuals. And so much in life today depends upon the people around you. I teach organizational behavior at Liberty University, and I love the subject because it talks about team dynamics. It talks about team dynamics when you're developing an organization. It talks about team dynamics when you're trying to stabilize a team, stabilize an organization. You can't do it alone. And that's one of the reasons that I've enjoyed teaching, but I've also enjoyed the interaction with the students, because I find that many students these days really don't realize that they're part of an organization. You know, God made us that way. He said that we were to come together as one. And quite often we begin thinking that we're one, and our individual thinking takes us away from His real purpose, and that was for us to touch other people. My mission in life at my age is to get Christ into the workplace. I don't know whether you know Christ, but the idea for me has been trying to get people to understand what I found through basketball, through life, and through the understanding that it was Jesus who opened the eyes of the blind, and He opened the hearts of those that were being persecuted. And the idea that I have today is that we can, through you and I, empower people to go into the marketplace, go into the workplace, and let them know about Christ. So it's with that that I expound on the ideology of empowerment. I found when I was running companies, and I was very fortunate, I ran some very large companies. I couldn't do the work myself. I had to have people around me who were capable and enthusiastic about doing their jobs. With that, I would say that I'm very interested in knowing you and having you know some of my thoughts, and they're worth just what you're paying for them. I believe that God has put us in a position to talk to one another. So this is my method of expounding my gospel to you, and hopefully the gospel of Jesus Christ and His salvation as well.